Hello, I'm Carol Van Ornum of the Civil War Roundtable Congress, and today we have Dana Best Mizsak of the James A. Garfield Civil War Roundtable. So welcome, Dana.
Thank you for having me.
The Civil War Roundtable Congress created an initiative to interview roundtable leaders for the purpose of sharing their table's successes and their challenges. We also hope that those leaders will offer some perspectives and ideas on ways that others can learn from and grow. So Dana, tell us a little bit about yourself first, your background, where you grew up, your education, your career, and what interest in the Civil War do you have?
Sure. So I grew up in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, Ohio. So also, very broad historical cities. So I've always had an interest in history. I went to the University of Akron and studied archaeology and graduated with a degree in interdisciplinary anthropology. And in the fall, I'll be starting my master's program also at the University of Akron in applied history and public humanities, which is a focus on archival methods, grant writing, and really working with the public to promote history. So I'm very excited to be doing that. As far as my career goes, I've had a very storied career. I started off as working in contract archaeology. So I was a shovel bum for a number of years, working, in various locations. I also worked at James Madison's Montpelier as a archaeologist. And I've worked with the Wallen St. Paul project in Belgium for the last 23 years as a staff archaeologist, and that's an international archaeological program. Through my work in Ohio, though, I've done some Civil War stuff. I've done a lot of Native American. So my interest in history is pretty much the whole span. To be honest, Civil War is probably not my favorite. But that being said, it's the most interpretive. So, at the moment, it's the most accessible, and it's the most inspiring that we can use right now to talk to the public.
Thank you.
Sure.
How long have you been a leader for your roundtable?
Since its inception. So, and I should say I'm not the leader, I'm the historian, but I'm part of the leadership team.
And its inception was when?
It was in 2015.
Okay. And what was your assessment of the roundtable when you began working with it?
Well, we started it brand new. So, we're very young. We're 9 years old. But we saw, we saw a need for our particular group of friends that had an interest in history, to form a group like this, because we felt like we didn't necessarily fit into any of the other groups that were around. There were some groups that didn't really allow women. There were other groups that were just a little stuffy. And we wanted to be able to combine academic research along with interpretation, because we feel like we all come from different backgrounds, and a lot of us are interested in both. And we wanted to be able to do both of those, to be able to not just learn ourselves, but be able to carry that knowledge to the public as well.
It's interesting. So as far as organizing of the roundtable, what did you do initially? What did you work on the most?
Our hierarchy, also just having a set meeting schedule, making sure we had some type of learning component within each meeting, so it wasn't just a business meeting. And then we have several events that we plan every year that we make sure are free and open to the public.
And the hierarchy, can you describe that more?
Sure. So at the top, we have our commander, and then we have our adjutant and vice commander. And then under that is the myself, as the historian, and our librarian and treasurer.
It's interesting that you, excuse me, label them as the commander rather than president, vice president. Why did you choose that?
Well, I can't say that I chose it. They wanted a, more of a military structure. Oh. So rather than a club, so it falls a little bit more into the military structure.
So what are your most shining or valuable moments or accomplishments that you've had?
That's a good question. I would say our Garfield Symposium is probably one of our biggest accomplishments. We just celebrated our 10th year. of that. It's a academic symposium that we put on every year in November. It's free and open to the public. We did not stop during COVID, so we kept it going, and even did it on Zoom. And we've had anywhere from 15 to 80 participants every year. So, in this coming year, hopefully we're going to be back in, we'll truly be back in person. We'll see how it goes, but that's probably our biggest, feather in our cap, so to speak. But we've also brought in Cwrt Fields, a couple of times for our summer signature. We've worked with local historical society to do a history fair project, and that's actually going to come back at my current employer in next spring. So we're really excited about being at the forefront of that. But probably our most proudest moments is when we see people get inspired by the work that we do, and just interacting with them on a totally different level when we're out, like at a Civil War encampment or a festival or whatnot. Seeing those faces and people get really interested and engaged in conversation is probably what makes us the most wanting to continue on with it.
Do you gain new members because of that?
Occasionally. I wouldn't say our membership has grown tremendously, but it is growing, especially because we do the virtual option as well. So we do have members, all over the country now. And we're a free organization. We don't charge dues or anything like that. So, sometimes when you do that, that is a little harder to keep members engaged because, they don't necessarily have skin in the game. But we also want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate no matter what their income level.
Okay, thank you. Has there been a continuing challenge that you've had?
I would say working with other roundtables. The roundtables in our area are not necessarily collaborative, despite our best efforts. Part of that could be because they're just a lot older than we are. Most of them are just academic. They don't necessarily do the interpretive part, and I don't know that they see the value of the interpretive part. I think that's a really key piece, especially with younger generations. Because let's face it, we're all getting older, and those people that were really interested in doing the historical interpretation are going to be not with us, potentially for much longer. We know the Civil War community has lost a number of really great people in the last couple of years. So trying to get them on board with doing more collaborative things has been a little bit of a challenge. Although that being said, a couple of our roundtables in the area have some new leadership and they are more interested. So we're hoping that, in the future, they will continue to be engaged, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Have you thought of having a sister roundtable relationship?
We have several actually already.
Okay.
But they were initiated by us. And I would say that they're fledgling. We're again, it's that collaboration piece is still something that's a little bit of a challenge to work out. But again, they took the step of becoming a sister roundtable. So that in itself is really great. We're working on new things, to hopefully get them more engaged. Hopefully this history fair that we have coming up will also be a great tool to promote the Civil War community within the Civil War community.
Thank you. Is there someone in your sphere who's been a mentor or an inspiration to you? And if so, in what way?
My father probably is definitely a mentor to me. He's always had a great love of history. Anytime we were on summer vacation, we always did something historical, much to maybe my sister's chagrin. In terms of inspiration, we have a young man named Joey who has Down syndrome, and he comes to every event that we're at. And it's absolutely wonderful. He's a bright kid, despite his disability, and his breadth of knowledge is probably better than most of ours. When it comes to the Civil War, he's so passionate about it, and he lights up, especially when he sees. We have people, that portray General Garfield, General Sherman, of course, Cwrt, and he just lights up when he sees them, and they light up too when when they're interacting, and it's so inspiring to see that. So that that's, at least for me, that's one of the reasons that I choose to do some costumed interp as well, because I see, especially with kids, they want to know, about the dress, or they want to know, why you do this, and it's a hook to get them in to talk to you more.
For sure. So where do you see your roundtable in the next 5 years?
Hopefully continuing to thrive. I mean, our members are all still relatively young. We're all mostly in our 40s, maybe 50s. So, hopefully we'll all continue to do this. We've been together now for almost 10 years. So, we don't show any signs of slowing down. So as long as there's Civil War activities in the area, we'll probably continue on.
Great. Have you thought of doing the sustainability challenge that the Congress provides?
We have, and that is our winter project.
Oh.
So that is what we are planning to start on this winter. We thought about, we tried to get it going last year, and just because of schedules and timing just didn't quite work out. But we have all read through all the materials. We're very excited to begin it. We think it's a really useful tool. So yeah, that is our challenge to ourselves for this, after we get through symposium this year, to concentrate on over the winter months.
Great, that's great. Is there anything else you want to share about your roundtable? Any challenges, other challenges, or other successes?
I think the Civil War community, and unfortunately we are not a prime example of this, but I think the Civil War community needs to be more inclusive of each other and needs to be more supportive of each other. We should be all showing up to other people's events. If we show up to Cleveland's roundtable meeting, it'd be great if someone showed up from there to our meeting. And we always extend the invitation. They're on our list. But sometimes I think we have to drag some of those groups keep cricking and screaming, just because it's nobody's fault. It's just I think it's a generational thing, truly. And unfortunately, that we're going to see more of those groups that are older and not necessarily open to change, probably ride off into the battlefield, because they're just not willing to listen to anybody else's suggestions. But again, like I said, some of the roundtables in our area have new leadership who are maybe our age or a little bit older, that do seem to be more interested in collaboration. So hopefully we'll be able to get some things rolling, and keep it alive for a bit longer.
Hope so too. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It was very interesting talking with you.
My pleasure.